Jacked Up Review Show. It's a Jacked Up Review Show. Jacked Up Review Show. It's the Jacked Up Review Show.
Join us as we cover many an insane movie and numerous cult TV phenomenons. Are you ready to get jacked up? Are you with us? Then listen on.
Listener discretion is advised. It's a Jacked Up Review Show. It's a Jacked Up Review Show. Jacked Up Review Show. It's a Jacked Up Review Show. It's a Jacked Up Review Show. Jacked Up Review Show.
Oh, it was awesome. I was playing Overwatch last night, and I use the name Tom Servo for pretty much all my gaming and everything. Maybe there's zeros or dollar signs instead of S's, whatever. And the game loads, and immediately, it doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's awesome. This one guy's like, Mystery Science Theater? I'm like, yeah. He's like, awesome. I'm like, yeah, you haven't seen me play yet. Don't get too happy yet.
Oh, Jesus. It really is wild how, when you talk
It's worth
about
it for that one person, though.
Oh, that's good.
The one person that recognizes it, it makes it all worth it.
Because growing up, it was just hell on earth just describing it to people. And everyone who's like been a fan has pretty much had that. It's like, the people who talk during a movie, and eventually someone might know what you're talking about, but they just didn't know the name, or they were too busy watching the actual movie that they forgot that there were silhouettes and there was a host segment afterwards. And yet, it's weird. It's like Joe Bob and Elvira, they haven't been played or syndicated in years, and yet more people seem to know about them because it was a thing. They would stay up and go to their friend's house, after midnight.
Well, don't forget, I think what helped get Elvira more into the public eye was she did commercials for, was it Bud Light or Coors? Or?
She did commercials. She did some Roger Corman movies. And
so she had definitely.
I mean, she's even appeared in the last two Scooby-Doo movies, believe it or not, doing a voice as Elvira. So it's just it's interesting how it all works. If you don't know a musician, then you probably know him from playing a character or playing as a band that was featured in a movie. So, there's that too. And I mean, fortunately, YouTube and GeoCities type sites, have been good. And I mean, I'm sure you can go to any torrent and overload your computer with just old VHS rips of some classic gem of a show.
Yeah, I do that, but we're almost out of bandwidth this month. I had to reinstall a few games on my computer. And I'm like, all of a sudden it says, you've used 75% of your allotted amount. And I'm like, really? I haven't downloaded anything here or nothing. Right. So I'm like, hey, make sure you turn YouTube off when you're done with it, Isabella. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I downloaded like 180 gig worth of games. Never mind. Partially my fault.
Is it on Steam? Oh, it'll take 3 terabytes.
It's on. Oh, Steam's having a sale. Woo-hoo. What's my Steam library up to now? Let's see.
I bought it, but now I can't download it. Fuck.
Let's see. Where's all games? I have 642 Steam games over the last 15 years.
Jeez.
Yeah, ask me how many I played. So,
welcoming Johnny Potoky of the Attack of the B Movies podcast back. That was terrible. I just totally interrupted myself, and then you laughed. Okay. And we're back. And snap to it. Johnny Potoky of Attack of the B Movies leads the charge of the Light Brigade in a very just outrageous take on 10 of the recommended beach movies. So the beach movies were just kind of a subgenre, kind of B movie, where just that. People at the beach, and they could be anything from party movies to spy movies to horror movies. And you see,
capers.
Exactly. Yeah. There could be a heist or a crime comedy influence in there. And it was just really on Johnny's mind. And I just said, I'll buy it. Let's see what the hell we've watched. Now, keep in mind, take these all with a grain of salt. Some of these are bad, but they're entertaining, and so they definitely fall into the so bad they're good, or just even just trashy fun kind of feel. Some of them are even just
nothing else. You're gonna watch it and just enjoy going, I can't believe they got away with that.
Exactly. You're gonna be joking at a lot of the political incorrectness, or you're gonna just just laughing at just how outrageous just the plot is, to where it's like someone was on some serious drugs and it was the 40s. What the hell?
Well, no, I think it spanned from like 58 to 68 or 9. It was about a 10-year span of them, I want to say. I don't know if they went back as far as the 40s, but I know they late 50s, early 60s.
40s and 50s are kind of just more obscure, but yeah, they're kind of just fully embraced by the 60s, kind of like neo-noir is just like extinct by the 50s, So
I guess 63 to 68 is when they really consider the genre to have existed, and the majority were by American International Pictures, which we've all heard of.
I was definitely
anyone that listens to our shows knows
Yeah, AIP is definitely one of the main candidates for this, and slow and surely, studios like MGM, Fox, Universal, Warner Brothers, all
Crown
the big
International, all the ones at the time,
all the big mafioso owned ones that have now been vented out into just powerful machines, definitely took the reins and took influence of it. And just to get us in the mood, I'm breaking our total rule here. I'm going to go with number 10, which is not made in any of these eras and actually a spoof of the whole genre. It's 2000's Psycho Beach Party.
Oh, I didn't even think about that, because I didn't really think. So it's funny, because I didn't think about going too far into the future. The only one I thought of from a more modern era was Back to the Beach, because these movies were the original like core movies, the AIP ones were famous for Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello, and Back to the Beach featured them, and Gilligan and the Skipper were in it too, from Gilligan's Island. I didn't even think about going all the way to 2000.
Yeah, I just couldn't help myself. This one was one I didn't really think of, but it showed just very commonly on Logo and some of those other LGBT networks, and people would talk about it a lot because younger Thomas Gibson was in it. Amy Adams also was one of her first big film roles, and so it was just one of those. Is like, okay, and
I love Amy Adams.
Oh yeah, good actress, and it was just one of
my favorite Thelma.
There you go. And
I think she was Thelma, in the movie.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
I think so. Wait, that was Linda Cardinelli.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, it's all
where
right.
do I know Amy Adams from? Now I don't remember.
Enchanted, Doubt, and it's all good. I mean, that one.
I like both. I love both of them. How's that?
That's fine. But yeah, this movie is just kind of just calm, laid back. People were complaining about the plot, but that is kind of the point. They're making fun of all the loopy nonsense that you see in those kinds of movies. And I think why it works so well is it isn't going to vary, like, say, if someone like Cronenberg or Verhoeven had done it, it would have just varied by crowd.
A Cronenberg beach movie.
Right. Heads exploding, or Verhoeven would have just had, some evil businessman raping someone randomly, and you're like, oh, I'm supposed to laugh at that. Well, I'm not really laughing. That's kind of fucked up. But with something like this, it just kind of, it's just very well framed, and, the people who did this was based on a Broadway play that was also just a satire. So I think because they heavily involved the original authors, and they had people who had been in various backgrounds of entertainment, and just everyone was just had enough freedom to work with what they had. I think that's why it turned out pretty well. I don't know if it made its budget back, but it was definitely a cult movie as intended, and, making fun of other cult movies. So I think that's why it works pretty well. And I definitely knew many people in the theater scene who would mention it on occasion. It's like, because that's the kind of crowd it was meant for, just making fun of.
Yeah, and realistically, whoever wrote it, which was, what was it, Charles Bush? I think he wrote the play and the screenplay. And the director Robert King really seemed to know they're both the genres. Like,
Yeah,
it really wasn't. It was a spoof, but it also seemed to be quite an homage that it was done so well.
absolutely. And I think it helped that Robert King, had worked in just various other kinds of movies and shows. I mean, later he works with, his wife on The Good Wife. But yeah, it seems like a lot. That's what I notice about every other CBS or NBC or Fox show. They get like all these people who are part of the Broadway scene, and they'll pretty much start out on every soap opera, and then they do at least 5 different guest spots on every single crime show. And
Yep.
I call it the Hamilton or Law and Order effect. It's that kind of thing.
I was so surprised to find out that the guy that wrote Hamilton, I can't think of his name. I was so surprised to find out that he was the same guy that was in Mary Poppins Returns.
Yeah, Lin-Manuel.
Lin-Manuel.
Yeah.
And I'd seen Mary Poppins Returns, and I'd seen him in the credits, and it never clicked. And then we watched the Hamilton that they have on, they're streaming right now because we never were able to get tickets. And I was like, holy, wow, that is him. And then we were watching Moana, and he wrote the songs in that too.
Yeah.
I was so surprised at that. But yeah, that's how like a lot of these people in this are. You see them in numerous things.
Totally. And you just got to tip your hat to them that they're comfortable doing this. They didn't get anyone who just wasn't in on the joke, who just didn't get it and was there, because, the studio needed them, to sell the movie, yada. It was pretty much all just, it was back in the, 90s and early 2000s when they were comfortable just having movies and shows that, they just could sell you on the gimmick and make your money back. And that was okay, and now it's like everybody, the only way to sell a movie, I need someone who's a has-been or who is hot shit right now. And, we've talked endlessly about them on other episodes, and it just gets very annoying because, I mean, with this genre especially, you don't necessarily...
Can you imagine, you think about like in the 90s and early 2000s, or even the 70s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, you still had spoof movies that came out and were at the theater and did well. Right, like Scary Movie 1, 2, even 3. You had the Naked Gun movies. I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. You had just tons of them. They come out now, but they go straight to video because no one wants to take the chance of putting it out at the theater and offending whoever. And like, because no one wants to take anything as a joke anymore. Look, I'm a fat middle-aged white guy. I'll be more than happy to take the jokes about it.
There's that.
I get it.
I think it's also just finding the crowd. It's just because they also don't do the trailer in studio anymore.
That's true.
That you're almost always just like half those movies are misadvertised. Oh, I thought so-and-so was the bad guy in that movie. No, they're in the movie. They're just a random character. Oh, okay. They're the first guy on the cover and they're looking rather pissed off. I thought they were the bad guys. So you get that. You got...
That's true, yeah.
And like you say with the humor, it's like somehow they either give away the punchline, but you don't understand the essence of the joke, so people get offended over something that wasn't offensive at all, didn't even have anything to do with a social or political cause. It was just stupid. And they wigged out about it. They're like, oh, I thought they meant that. And it's like, have you even seen the movie?
Yeah. It's like I saw an ad for a show on Amazon, or a movie on Amazon that, like an Amazon exclusive. And it looks like a combination of this somewhat style because, this had the coming of age. These movies had the coming of age thing to them, much like the movies that they eventually influenced, like, American Pie and all that, right?
Right.
I mean, these basically were the predecessor teen movies, right? So it has like the spoof aspect of it, and it has the coming of age aspect. It's called The Binge. It's mocking The Purge, where in 20 years the world is perfect, everyone gets along, there's no pollution, and there's no drugs or alcohol or anything, except for one day when you could do any drug or drink as much as you want.
Oh, that's great. I have to see this.
And it's about a group of high school seniors that want to participate in the binge, so the one drugs their parents so they fall asleep so they can go.
Absolutely. And
that looks hilarious.
That already has me sold. And the other thing is when people spoof something, they're like, do I have to actually watch the thing to get it? And it's like, no, probably not half the time. More than half the time people just take the same kind of concept and they just go from there, and then it's just a matter of, you know, how read up are you. I mean, you can easily watch half the stuff if you're just kind of a South Park guy where you know everything it's about, but you haven't necessarily actually seen it, but you can still make fun of it. I will definitely check that out. So you had Under the Boardwalk as your number 9 pick?
Under the Boardwalk is that's
also by Robert King.
Classic.
Yeah. It's by Roger Corman Studio, but is it better than some of his schlocky moments, or is it just kind of appreciated for various reasons?
That's a tough one, right? Because like I actually genuinely like Robert Corman movies.
I like
the majority of them,
day.
which when you think about it, it's, you know, not something you want to say to most people, right?
It's one of those where, I mean, some of his movies are more laid back and fun because of how silly and cheap they are in other times.
Yeah, and that's how this one is, right? So you had a good cast in it, and it was, you know, it was your classic like good versus bad rival gang kind of thing. It was, you know, there's a surf contest. You know, it's like, how do you not enjoy just watching the corniness of it, right? And you know, it's all on a beach in California. Well, I don't know if that's where it was actually filmed, but still, you know. So yeah, I don't know where I put it compared to his schlockier stuff, because it actually was, I thought, not badly done at all, to be honest.
No, that's good. Well, I mean, sometimes don't get me wrong, he's got plenty of them which are so bad they're good, and then various other ones. But I mean, it's
basically another retelling of Romeo and Juliet, also, right? Like it's got the surfing, but it's basically, you know, the whole forbidden kind of girlfriend boyfriend thing too in parts.
I mean, it's by New World Pictures, so I take it this is still just a lot of fun.
Yeah, I always thought so.
Pretty groovy.
You know, sometimes it's nice just to turn off and get away from all the crap in the world and not watch, you know, some like emotional masterpiece or something. Sometimes it's nice to just watch something that's just fun and goofy, right? And that's what this whole genre was. I mean, realistically.
That's good. So very cool.
And there was some cool surfing in this too. I'll give them that.
For sure. So I'm gonna go with Beach Party from '63. How appropriate. But
that is I believe the one that kicked them all off.
Yeah.
Right? American International
Very
Pictures.
much.
Frankie Avalon was in it, I think.
It takes it just putting it in the name for them to just finally stick. Funny how that goes.
Frankie, and then that's former Annette Funicello was a Musketeer, which at the time was basically like the a playmate for kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like to the
Pretty
day
much.
she died, people adored Annette Funicello, and she always seemed like the nicest person in the world. And I've never read anything
Didn't she do conventions?
bad about her. She did conventions. She embraced everything she did. You know, she knew not all of it was like gold, but she was just really cool. And the chemistry with her and Frankie Avalon, and right off the bat, was fantastic for these movies. And they were like the perfect couple for them. And this one, like I said, I want to say this was the original one. And come on, it's a movie about a scientist studying wild mating habits of Southern California teens.
Man, damn. So, I mean, did you see this on like TCM or MGM or?
I don't remember. I know I saw it like there was a resurgence of this style, right, in the 80s. I mean, not new movies coming out, but a lot of the 60s and late 50s stuff was popular. The music, the Beach Boys and the Fat Boys did a song together, you know, and my parents were of the age group that remembered poodle skirts and sock hops and stuff. So I always knew about these actors, and yeah, you catch them on cable in reruns once in a while. But I always hear my mom and my uncles and stuff talk about them, and you know, so it's always been a part of me. That along with it's like the beach movie genre, surf rock, classic cars. I mean, it's like in SoCal, it just all blends. And I've never done any of that or been to any of that, but because of the tie-in and the parents and stuff and knowing about it and watching them, you know, I feel like I'm part of it, you know? So yeah, I saw this one it was probably on AMC or something back in the day.
Pretty cool. Very, very neat.
So for my next one though,
Oh,
I'm gonna go a little different. It's a beach party film, kind of, technically. I'm going with where did I put it? I want to make sure I get the title right because I always screw it up. The horror of Party Beach.
Woo!
Which sadly is a movie I really like, but for some reason it's considered the worst movie ever made.
I'll be honest.
Horror of Party Beach.
I like a lot of the movies that were featured on Elvira and Joe Bob and MST3K, but it's just a matter of a lot of people take it at face value. This is terrible. I'm like, that's why it's entertaining. Then there's
That's why it's entertaining. Yeah.
And then there's other ones where it's like, it's not 100%, but I've seen worse.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
For movies that had a budget and did nothing with it, I'm more mad at those versus one that was meant to be a silly, wacky movie.
Del Tenney put up $50,000 of his own money to make the movie.
Oh shit!
And granted, the monster looked like he had hot dogs in his mouth, but
oh jeez,
it was funny because it was a weird mix of like they tried like making a not political, but like a statement against like radioactive like dumping in the ocean because the plot is that this boat in broad daylight is dumping 55-gallon drums labeled danger radioactive waste into the ocean while kids are partying on the beach. And you see the drum hit the ground, it breaks open, it's by like a shipwreck, and there's like a skeleton nearby that suddenly becomes this creature. It didn't affect any of the fish, but somehow it resurrected this skeleton into a creature. So, I mean, and then it the creature attacks somebody from the beach party and whatnot. But it had all the prerequisites. It had all the elements. There was there were the biker gang guys, and there were yeah, you have to have them. There was the slumber party where they all where 20 or 30 of them get slaughtered by monsters. So it was. I think this might have been the first one that blended horror and beach parties.
That would make sense because I mean, it really was just kind of, So this was after that, but it's kind of.
Yours might have been first, actually.
Oh, you're right. I think it was. It did beat it to the punch.
It was one of these two. It was close. They were within.
But either way, one helps out the other, and everyone saw him at one point or another. So it does get to that point where you're watching it, and you can see why it's goofy. You can see why it's embraced. You can see why some people like MST3K took it on, and at the end of the day, it's harmless. It's not gonna. And
there's the housekeeper that thinks it's voodoo that did it. I mean, there's just so much stuff in it, and it's hilarious because like when the first person's killed, there's a group called the Bel Airs who are actually a real band, and they're performing a song. I think it's called Zombie Stomp as she's attacked and killed. So I mean,
that's great.
This almost could have been a Corman film, to be honest.
I'm and he might have even bought parts of the rights under his
maybe I don't know.
Oh boy, so I'm gonna go with 6 to 5, the Dr. Goldfoot movies that co-star Vincent Price. They're just very goofy.
Oh yeah,
Vincent Price is still in House of Wax mode, if anything.
I actually had a Dr. Goldfoot and the Bikini Machine on my list. So, okay, we'll go with how you put it. It's great because they're just like you said, they're spy spoofs meets the beach and
some horror elements, but
yeah.
It's not going to scare a single person. It's just silly, just mad scientists.
and Frankie Avalon's in it again.
There you go. Yeah, and that's kind of he kind of is what sells the movie a bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because he is just still just being all, hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. How's it going?
Yeah, he is in total Joey from Friends mode.
Which is, I think, how he actually just was.
Right. That's just it. There's just some people, they got work because they were, that's who they were, and people love that. And so just no one told him don't do that. It was like, no, totally do that. And
See, I like movies like this that spoof like the spy genre. Like I love old Bond movies. I don't want to say I don't like the new ones, but they're not Bond movies. There's no
Right.
there's no like when you're super villains
kind of like new Star Trek is like those are
yeah, it's good.
Star
It's
Wars,
just not
Star
the
Trek.
same. Yeah, like for new Bond movies, like the villain shouldn't like aspire to be a like jewel thief or whatever. Or I think wasn't the first one with Daniel Craig, wasn't he like an art thief or something?
He was going after some art thieves and other people.
Yeah,
but,
that's what I mean. He wasn't going after someone that was trying to blow up the world from the moon. You know,
well,
so
more or less. I think what
it was trying to be. They tried to make them into Bourne movies, which is fine because the Bourne movies are excellent, and the new Bond movies are excellent. It's just to me, it's not that spy genre.
Be careful how
it?
you tell. Be careful who you tell that to. I get into so many arguments about people who.
I do too, and at this point in my life, I don't care anymore because
it's
I'm not. I mean, I'll give them their credit; they're good movies. They're just
and-
not, and really, even the Mission Impossible movies are more classic Bond than Bond movies are.
And that's just it. And everyone else is like, they either want to give Mission Impossible shit because they either don't like Tom Cruise or like how it's different from the show, or it's just the same thing with, TV shows becoming movie versions. Is just like, so many people are used to just stupid, lesser movies. And it's like, well, it can work. Look at The Fugitive. Look at,
Yep.
even The Equalizer did it pretty well.
You got to give The Fugitive a little credit though, because as a TV show, it was trying to be a serious TV show.
Oh, there's that. And
But so the movie was matched up fine, right? But then you have like Starsky and Hutch, which was trying to be a serious TV show, and the movie came out and was a complete like spoof of it.
absolutely. And so many people didn't like it because, it's dumb. Like, well, the show kind of had its dumb moments, so that's kind of where they're going for. They grew up on it. They knew everything about it. They knew it like the back of their heads. So that's why
I mean, to me, the Dr. Goldfoot movies, especially in the Bikini Machine. Let's see, he has a helper named Igor that's resurrected, and they build a gang of female robots who are supposed to seduce and rob wealthy men. That's classic Bond.
yeah.
And
I'd say so.
I find myself always having that conversation from the Kingsmen, where
Yes.
Sam Jackson and the guy that plays the lead in it, I can't think of his name. Fantastic
Firth.
actor, Colin. No, not him. The younger guy.
Jonesy, or I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, the guy that plays
Eggsy.
Jonesy, who's fantastic. And they're discussing that, and I'm like, oh man, you guys get it, because that's what that movie was. That was like more of a Bond movie, and that's what I love about these. It's like, let's take the beach, throw it in there, and
right.
it's like the Get Smart movie had the nude ray.
Yeah, and see, that's just it too. That one was more low key and just silly, and it's like everyone wanted their fart jokes and they wanted it now, and it's like it's not that kind of movie, guys. Never was. Not even the show. Not even from Mel Brooks would you expect it?
What a genius show that was, though.
Yeah, and I mean, there's
We'll
been
have to do that.
so
We'll have to
many-
do that on another podcast.
Oh yeah, we could totally talk about underrated spy movies and shows.
I mean, but your point that Vincent Price was in this. Vincent Price was still very popular too, and very well known. And
Yeah, he's still in his prime.
he was perfectly fine in this. Yeah,
It's a later day role, and yet you kind of accept it because it's just, he's one of those actors who always gives 100% regardless of the movie. And
Mhm.
and this is back when reviews are common, but more people are. I miss these days when people just went to the movies and you didn't really think about what review, was on the cover of what have you. And in this case, it's pretty much just that. You just flat out are just taking it at face value. It's really stupid, and it's just
the title song was by the Supremes, one of my favorites.
yes.
Favorite groups. Interesting side note: in England, it was retitled Dr. G and the Bikini Machine. In England,
Mhm.
the legend goes that it was titled that because there were two doctors in the country called Dr. Goldfoot. But realistically, I would guess the James Bond people were going to sue him. if they put it out, Dr. Goldfoot.
They probably would have. I mean, if they weren't taking, it's funny how they were taking ideas from other franchises and yet, always just attacking anyone who took their idea. Oh, it's too similar to Tomorrow Never Dies or Dr. No. And it's like, yeah, well, we're making the movie.
It's the spy genre, so
you're not going to make it anyway. Half the time it really is just, it's kind of like the Expendables courtroom battle. That was absolutely stupid. It's like, okay, who hasn't made a Men on a Mission movie script at one point in their careers?
Yeah, right.
What do you have in there? Is it character names or what have you? Now, don't get me wrong. New Image Films has always been known to just, much like Roger Corman and other independent studios, half the time, if they can find a way to pay you less, they will. Sometimes they do it intentionally. Other times, someone lost the paperwork because no one was telling them how to run their store. So I just take it all with a grain of salt because who knows? Maybe the guy really didn't, do anything, but they just thought coincidentally it just sounds way too much like mine, and no one else here in LA is doing something like that. It has to be my idea, and you somehow, before the internet, knew what I was making. So it is what it is. Do you have anything for number? I can't speak today.
We're at 4.
Yes, number 4.
Yeah, I do actually. It's another one. It's another one that has always been considered a horrible movie, which I honestly think's pretty not bad at all. And it blends the caper genre with the beach party genre. Catalina Caper.
Woo!
Starring at one point
Alan
Disney,
Hill.
and Tommy Kirk, who was a huge Disney actor for a long time, and then he kind of went off the deep end somewhere right around working for Crown International on this. Yeah, so he did, and I feel for him because I was reading about his history a couple of months back, and I guess he discovered at a relatively early age that he was gay. And in Hollywood at the time, especially working for Disney at the time, that was frowned upon, even though many of the actors in Hollywood we later find out were gay. So he was a young man growing up trying to balance everything and be who he really was, but not get into trouble. And so, yeah, he ended up, with a drug problem. But he did make this one, which also starred Little Richard in a cameo role singing.
Yeah.
Who looked high as a goddamn kite when he was doing it. But this movie kind of pokes fun at the genre in certain aspects. Like they get off the boat in Catalina, and just 15 women come running up to Tommy Kirk. Or he plays a guy named Don Pringle. They come running up to his friend, and they're like, "Oh, we've missed you." But it starts off with a Chinese scroll being stolen. And it's a fun movie, I thought. And I not to sound, what a lot of the women look nice in it. I thought I like what was her name? I think her name is Vanita Wolf. I think she played Tina.
Vanita Wolf. That already sounds like a sexy person.
Is she the one? She was the blonde one. She was the brother. She was blonde, and she played the brother or the sister of Charlie Moss in the movie, who was played by Charlie Moss was played by Brian Cutler. But yeah, I actually rather like this movie, and nothing about it stands out to me as that bad to where I go, this is one of the worst movies I ever saw. I enjoy watching it. I wish they would. I wish I could find there were more crossover caper films, and now I want to go to Catalina and see if it's like that.
That would have actually been fun if they had beaten all the Universal monsters and Marvel and DC to the punch and just said, hey, let's have all these separate beach movies, and then because they're all by the same company, let's have them all the characters or actors who played said roles just together in one epic beach movie. That would have been fun.
God, it would have been great. But yeah, and it's funny because there's basically the overall plot is this guy that they meet in Catalina, his parents are there, and his parents are kind of they're art thieves kind of. What they do is they steal stuff, the wife reproduces it, they take the stolen stuff, give it back, hide or sneak it back into the museum, and then sell off the copy. And basically they lose the scroll, they're trying to find the scroll, the kids figure out eventually what's going on, but Tommy Kirk falls in love with this character named Katrina, and she's just kind of weird looking in the movie. And she's played by Ulla Stromstedt, which is she's I think a Swedish actress who every other picture I've seen of her outside of this movie looks nothing like it. It was weird, but
it's like they have some secret surgery place they didn't know about back then.
but there was like a little bit of a organized crime aspect to it, and you know, well, actually the guy that they were supposed to sell the scroll to he had henchmen basically, you know. There was a guy following everyone around doing pratfalls, which was a classic, you know.
That sounds very intriguing because I'll tell you what, it gets really annoying when everyone seems to want to rely on just having it be just, you know, super villain or just something else. Is like, you know, a conspiracy or a crime syndicate is only more interesting when you just kind of have them be just, for lack of a better explanation, sort of just organized, and you don't know how the organization functions, and then you just kind of have them either deliver on their threats or just in a way where it's like, okay, you know, this goes with the tone. It's not so outlandish to where it's just like it takes away from the fun.
Yeah, and that's what I think. This one had a ton of dance scenes, like a ton of beach partying. They were partying on the boat. They were dancing on the boat. They were dancing on the beach. In fact, I don't know how early this ever started, but at the end of this movie, the camera zooms out and you see the cast living it up, like partying together. It's like the last scene. Like they're all like, it's supposed to be like, you know, and Cannonball Run does that too, where you see them like, I think it's the second one at the end of it, right? They're partying and then it zooms out and you see the crew and stuff. And I almost wonder if this was the first movie that did that. And I always think it was kind of cool because it's like, oh, look, they actually look like they had a good time making this.
Yeah, very much.
And I always think if people have a good time and enjoy making the movie, it translates, you know? So even a bad movie, if the crew seems to have had a good time making it, it shows. But yeah, this movie's considered like a horrible movie. I personally like it.
For sure.
So
that brings us to number 4. Holy shit. We're already there. I saw some sites listed as a beach movie and other places not even remotely mentioning it. I'd say it qualifies just sure for the fact because where else does it take? It's like in, you know, Hawaii. I mean, so it's the outrageous bikini-clad spy movie Fathom with Raquel Welch, and it's just wacky. Everybody should see it, especially if you're a guy. Just see it and just laugh your ass off and just be like, what the fuck was that? And plot, barely there. Not to be unexpected, and at the same time, not necessarily a bad thing considering, you know, it's very much the same kind of mindset.
How do you spell the title of that movie?
Fathom with exclamation point.
That's right.
It's just one of those. It's just very much like Matt Helm and, you know, and like Flint. It's just like, wow, back in that day.
I love that stuff.
Yeah, and you know, some of these movies
not even a movie I remembered. So good get on that one. Because now I've actually never seen this one, so now I want to see it.
Okay. Well, you won't lose anything, and I mean, that's the appeal of some of these movies anyway. Just like the Italian knockoffs of James Bond type movies, is just even if they're not good.
Operation Kid Brother.
Oh yeah, Kid Brother.
Or what was it? What's the other name? Operation 007. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Kiss the Girls and Make Them Die Slowly or something like that was the name of one, which some people even believe was what Moonraker was a remake of. I think that's just them being silly. But even if, you know, spy movies have a certain kind of appeal where even if they're not good or they're just cheesy, you love them anyway. It's like, I'm going to watch this all the time. They're just crazy.
Oh, like it's very hard to buy James Coburn as a spy, but then like Flint's a great movie, and Our Man Flint. They're both great movies. But
there you go.
He doesn't have the suaveness necessarily of like Bond, you know?
And if they were to remake it, it'd just be like, no, it was a certain time. You just can't recapture it. Please don't. No.
Yeah, it does take place in Hawaii. So that's a good one. I'm gonna have to. Now I'm gonna have to watch it. See what you did.
For sure.
Good call. So that was that number 4 or number 3?
That was number 4. So I guess you have It's a Bikini World on your list, or
Uh,
another Tommy Kirk movie. I meant to check it out.
I did. That's one of them. I was going to go with this one before that one.
Okay, yeah.
Because this goes along more with the horror stuff again a little bit.
Okay.
And this one, this is also Tommy Kirk.
Number 3.
The Ghost in the Invisible Bikini. Now, it doesn't necessarily take place on a beach. It's more so in and around a haunted house and a pool. But it's got the right the feels there. The same idea, you know. But the cast is ridiculous. It's Tommy Kirk, Basil Rathbone, Boris Karloff, Nancy Sinatra, just to name a few.
I've sworn I've seen this, but I have not. But yeah, you have me
I
sold.
mean, Claudia Martin, daughter of Dean Martin, is in the movie. I mean, it's a hell of a cast.
And it's a musical.
It's such a corny, like awesomely corny movie where Boris Karloff dies and he has 24 hours to perform one good deed to get into heaven, right? So he finds his long dead girlfriend, Cecilia, and they have to stop his lawyer and the lawyer's henchmen from taking over the estate for themselves. So,
nice. So
there we go. That's a plot
just
for you.
looking at it, it almost feels like a Hammer horror or Universal classic movie, and then someone mixed up their genres.
Hey, you put your Hammer horror in my beach party. And it's exactly what I thought when I saw it. Because this is actually when I've seen this one once, and it felt like that. It felt like part Hammer movie because you had Boris Karloff, and then there's Tommy Kirk. You know, because I think there were some other alumni from the beach party. Tommy Kirk, Deborah Wally, Bobby Shaw, Jesse White. I mean, they were all regulars in beach party movies. The Bobby Fuller Four.
Nice.
Which is a minor band. But yeah, so it was a very interesting, but it was comedic, it was funny, it wasn't scary, you know. Like, and it by this point I felt bad for Karloff. I mean, it really seemed like he was just being trotted out for like damn near any movie.
Yeah,
because he needed the money. I mean, I know he was in a lot of pain and stuff because he hurt himself so bad.
And it's like I remember, I forget what movie it was, but apparently a lot of behind the scenes stuff. I remember it's like, it was one of those like Italian productions. They could only film a movie a certain amount of times. I forget the one, but it was like it was either Jesus Franco or one of those other crazy infamous names. And it was one of those, it's like they didn't have time to redo it, but he just said, okay, sure, let's redo it a few more times. Even though this man, you know, secretly is just aching from cancer and, you know, all these other, you know, medical issues. And that's a trooper to just be able to do that.
Yeah, he really was. And
it's a shame. I mean, because if that were to happen nowadays, there would just be, I'm dying of cancer and we're going to hold a whole week of shooting until I feel like we can, you know, film it. You know, you see a lot of diva stuff like that. And it's like, just get a different actor who,
let the guy heal up and
instead of
I think the problem was that, I think the problem with Karloff was I think he needed the money, if I remember reading correctly.
I'm sure he did. And I mean, it wasn't uncommon, you know, if you turned down a gig, I'm sure back in the day they could easily say, oh, what's the likelihood he'll be on any of these? You know, he'd already turned down the last few, and people still like to do that today. Oh, they're a diva. You know, they pull a Weinstein, so-and-so, they're a diva. They didn't fuck me. And so and sometimes it doesn't even get that extreme. Sometimes it's just like, I fucking hate that guy. I hope no one works with him.
Yeah, but if they draw enough money.
Yeah. And that's the other sad part too, is when people realize what assholes certain people are. And if it takes your last movie tanking for them to just stop putting up with your shit. And I just wish everyone would just get to the point where it's like, you know what? This guy is just, I get that they're a good actor and they draw everything. Everyone should just learn to put their foot down and just say, you know what, I quit. And I get that's not common. A lot of people just like to say, let's just work it out. Let's work together. And it's like, no, just don't. And just say you did. Because you just can't force people to get along. You either got to
Yeah,
quit
I know. Yeah.
or fire one person. And sometimes it just gets even more annoying when it turns out it was just one person just driving everyone crazy as opposed to multiple people.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's always those cases where no one gets along, but generally it's like one person.
Yeah, generally it is just one guy. And in this particular case, I think why these movies have stood the test of time is everyone feels like everyone is having fun and it comes across on the camera. I mean,
Yeah,
you're
I
at a
agree.
beach, you should be having fun as opposed to looking bored or sunburned.
I don't think anyone took them too seriously.
And I'm sure they were able to make it work.
You have to know that if you're being hired to film a movie about a beach party, you're not going to win an Academy Award.
And I'm sure someone could bitch and whine about how some of these clearly are closed off film sets, but see, back in this day, it worked in that sense because it gave a dream-like quality for these kinds of movies.
Mm-hmm.
While, unlike with other, low-budget productions where it's just like, yeah, they clearly didn't have permission to go anywhere and they just had nothing to work with, so of course they had to go with a cheesy-looking closed-off film set. And with these, it's just, you're fine with seeing the green screens of waves in the background with actual lighting. And then just cutting to actual B-roll of actual people at the beach with the groovy soundtrack. Yep.
So we had Tommy Kirk. We had, like I said, Deborah Wally, who's famous for Gidget.
Yes.
Or Gidget goes Hawaiian anyway.
Gidget is like one of the forerunners of this. I'm sure this will be on the list somewhere.
Jesse White, who was the Maytag repairman for like 20 years in commercials. And a name that I knew was familiar and I couldn't figure out from what. Aaron Kincaid played Killer Croc on Batman animated series, and he did voices for DuckTales.
Nice.
So a lot of them went on to do other stuff. I mean, Tommy Kirk, we already talked about, had some other issues. But didn't Basil Rathbone play Sherlock Holmes?
Yes. Yeah.
Like, he was one of the definitive Sherlock Holmes that everybody loved.
Totally.
So just him being in this to me is hilarious.
No, that's wonderful. And I mean, it's fun when it goes that route because it just gives you it's just great seeing genre people just go to other just other genres, stretch themselves out a bit, even though they're kind of playing a spoof of another genre persona they're typically known for. And I think that's why those works. Oh,
so now we're at number 2.
yeah. You just named it up perfectly. Number 3. So I guess number 2 would be Gidget, or
the Gidget series of movies. Was Gidget a TV show originally?
let me look it up real fast.
I thought it was a TV show and movies.
Look it up.
Yeah, no, there's a whole slew of movies. Based off novels, I did not know that.
Well, there you go. And back when, just about anything could be.
Yeah, you're right. These are kind of the predecessors of the where the film's at. Yeah, there were films. Gidget Goes Hawaiian, and Gidget Goes to Rome. There were only 3 of them? Oh, yeah, then there was a television series. Sally Field. Oh, that's what it was. Sally Field played her in the TV show. Oh, she was played by 3 different people in the movie. Sandra Dee, Deborah Wally, and Cindy Carroll.
There you go. So it was kind of like Hamilton.
Yeah.
Everyone's got to play multiple parts, Crater Tuna.
But if you ask anybody from this time period who played Gidget, all of them will say Sally Field.
Man. Very cool.
In 2000, Francis Ford Coppola staged a musical adaptation of Gidget with a cast of students from the Orange County High School for the Arts.
Man.
Who knew?
Who knew? Yeah, until now. Man.
But yeah, the Gidget series was a huge success, really.
That's good. And I mean, well, we're going to be reviewing lots of cult franchises. So, I mean, I'm all the more for it. I like just something besides just kind of the big, now everyone's got to be like part of a different family.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, after a while, it's like, why not just have something else, just some other side stuff? Because otherwise you are eventually going to get bored just seeing the same stuff again and again. So.
Yeah, and like you said, it really was like an entire the movies and the show they were the perfect fit for the whole beach party, genre and like time period. They're right in the middle of it, 65 to something.
Mm-hmm.
The movies I think were first movie was 59, so the movies were from 59 to 63, and then the TV series was from like I don't even know. I know it was from the mid 60s on 65 maybe.
But it lasted more than one season is what we're getting.
Yeah, it was on for a little bit.
Cool.
And then there were like follow-up stuff too, like there were reunion specials and stuff, and Hanna-Barbera I think did an animated one. So it really took off pretty well.
For sure. Alrighty. So number 1, save for the final finalist.
So what do you got listed as number 1?
Oh, I don't have anything. I thought you said the other Tommy Kirk movie.
Yeah, go ahead. Say what it was.
Oh, I thought you said you had seen that one. I was just mentioning it.
No, I've seen it, but since you said it, go ahead and I'll let you do the big reveal.
Okay. Shit. It's a Bikini World from '67.
Now this one for me was it was tough to choose between this one and one we didn't put on the list at all, which really we kind of should have, Bikini Beach, which was like really one of the originals too. So it was a hard one for me to pick between the two, but this one was a little more fun, I guess.
All right.
And this had the stable of bikini actors. It had Tommy Kirk, it had Deborah Wally in it. So I don't, it's same thing. He's, Tommy Kirk has a harem of women with him, or ladies. He's a surfer. Everyone loves him, named Mike Sampson. And he meets Deborah Wally's character, and he's like, "Hey, why don't you come on, join the forum?" And she's like, "Nah, you're chauvinistic and shallow, so no." So to win her heart, or to win her, he disguises himself as a twin brother named Herbert, who's a nerd. Realistically, plot-wise, this would almost work today.
Sure.
It's your classic, like, don't judge a book by the cover kind of thing to an extent, right? Like,
yeah.
or
and many of these plots
I guess so.
People like to bash, could still work in some fashion. It's just you got to find out the different tone or mood or cast.
Yeah, because throughout the movie, she ends up like they get they do, of course, get more together, and really for the time period, it had a pro-feminist plot line, and it was the only beach party movie genre movie to be directed by a woman, Stephanie Rothman.
Okay, very cool.
So there's some uniqueness to this movie.
Nice. So, and just done in a way, before we started living in different eras and we started having to determine, okay, this movie might be propaganda, or this movie is great, or this movie is well intended but pretty heavy-handed, or just furthering the war between the genders that should not even exist, but unfortunately does. So,
yeah. But yeah, I mean, throughout the movie, he starts to learn more of how not to be a douche. I guess, right? Would be the way to put it.
That's cool. So it's kind of so you basically feel like a character is learning about their qualities and they're actually evolving instead of, well, not sure what's going on here. Some of the movies, their plots do literally just go out the front door within the first 5 seconds.
We'll return after these messages.
Hey, feeling down? Feeling low? Not enough podcasts about movies in your life? Why not try
They must be destroyed on sight.
the new Podcast Cure-All? Sure to get you right with the world and on a path to better living. We have exploitation, we have Italian horror, we have zombies, we have slashers, we have crime films, we have spaghetti westerns, we even have sci-fi and sex comedies. So take a dose of
They must be destroyed on sight.
as needed and let the hosts, Lee Russell, Daniel Harper, Paul Romali, and the odd guest host cure what ails you.
Warning, may cause atrophy, African consumption, black fever, bone shave, chin cough, colic, cramp colic, dropsy of the brain, elephantitis, grocer's itch, jaundice, mania, miasma, mortification, palsy, Pott's disease, rheumatism, scurvy, St. Anthony's fire, summer complaint, and worm fit in some people. Consult a physician before listening.
Hey, I heard you like movies.
I heard you like to hustle.
I heard you like podcasts.
Well, guess what?
There's a podcast for you out there called The Home Video Hustle.
Damn right.
Every Friday, we talk about whatever movie PJ picks out the bag. What does that mean? Every Wednesday on our YouTube page, I put a bunch of movies in a bag, and PJ picks one out at random. And then we just watch it. We talk about it for maybe like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever we feel like doing, wherever the conversation leads us.
But do we actually talk about the movie?
Most of the time. Tangents galore.
Yes.
So believe me, we may be a movie podcast, but it's not always about movies. We might talk about video games, music. Yeah, that's the big one, music. Sometimes we might get a little bit of politicalness in there.
Yes.
Sometimes we may just, we know what we like to do. We like to tell stories, PJ.
Yes.
I am the master storyteller of the podcast realm. Undefeated. So if you like to hear about movies, video games, whatever foolishness comes to our mind, the most random stuff you could think of, check out the Home Video Hustle. You can find us on the Stitchers, the Google Play, Apple Podcasts,
what else?
Podbean,
what else?
Podcast Addict,
goddamn,
all that. Ain't no reason you can't get your hustle on. We everywhere, worldwide, baby.
Hustle, motherfucking hustle.
Hey, we can't cuss in the promo, PJ. We gotta be family friendly. There may be podcasts out there that don't want his hair say all that good fun stuff.
Well, you.
Don't run the listeners away, PJ.
I'm sorry.
But this is going kind of long.
Yes.
So we'll end this and say, hey, check out the Home Video Hustle every Friday on all the various podcast outlets. Peace.
Peace.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. And while Witch didn't make it to the top of the world, he did make the Gangs of Hollywood podcast. So join the gang and enjoy a movie review podcast about movie gangs, gangsters, mobsters, and the mayhem they cause. You can find GOH Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at GOH Pod at www.gohpod.com, as well as your favorite podcast listening app. And remember, say hello to your little friend for me.
If you take two old punk rockers who are past their prime, put them in front of a movie screen and give them a podcast, what do you get? Cinema Punks. Cinepunks. It's the mixtape of movies.
Did you ever see a film at such a young age it left you traumatized with cinematic wounds? Necrophilia. It's a dead issue, man. Don't push it. Cinema Psyops is a weekly podcast documenting an ongoing experiment on the mind of an unwilling test subject.
No one should have to watch this movie.
Oh, no one should have to watch this?
No one should have to watch this movie.
Surprisingly, it's not a topic that a lot of people really want to tackle.
I'm shocked, prudes.
I know, really.
Right?
It's the next sexual frontier that no one wants to explore.
I am, in the most sincerest of senses, disappointed in you.
It takes a powerful goddess like Connie, jam her arm down the monster's throat and kill it. I'm still tripping out over that. Even as a kid, I was like, I gotta find a girl like that. Every week, I get a new look of disappointment that I never thought I could get out of her.
Unimaginable. At 12 years old, you should not be watching this movie.
Obviously.
At 13, you should not be. 14, you shouldn't be. I'm not entirely sure even 17-year-olds should be watching this.
Just because you're offended by something doesn't mean that you have the right to demand that it doesn't exist. Watching this film again, I had all of this like little nerd glee with everything that kept
little history all popping up
absolutely.
at you.
So I totally loved this film.
Hey, I know why you couldn't see that. because your brain's warped watching this shit at 12 years old.
Yeah, this is a rough movie. I told you ahead of time when we were getting ready to do it that it was
How
going to be
could
a
you
rough
watch
one.
this shit at 12?
Because physical wounds heal, cinematic ones don't. Listen to Cinema Psyops.
It's time, let's check our cue, baby. Pair it with a couple brews, baby. We love good movies. We love the bad ones too. So we watch them all and pass their lessons on to you. Oh yeah. Everything I learned from movies helps to make life a little bit groovy. With a one-last plot holes of gratuitous movies. It's time to get busy with your friend Steve and Izzy at eilfm.podbean.com.
We now continue with our program.
Yeah, and like I said, the director, she went on to direct stuff. She worked with Roger Corman. Oh, actually, Roger Corman I think was before this one, or for this one. Well, this is a Corman movie, so she worked with him prior to making this movie. And let's see, she worked for Dimension Pictures. She did some exploitation films. She always said she wasn't happy about them, but it seems like they've gotten critical acclaim in the few, since then. So
you can't win them all.
Yeah, but no, she. So it was a unique blend of, things happening in this one, and it was really near the end of the beach party movie craze, sadly. Which then kicked off again in the 80s, only not so much beach parties, but ski school, you had skiing, you had surfing, you had movies similar, come back around. And then in the 90s, you had stuff like American Pie, which would have been the,
Porky's.
Well, yeah, Porky's in the 80s. I mean, I guess really like any movie that's kind of like somewhat immature, I guess some people would say, would be considered this kind of movie, right? Only not on a beach. Revenge of the Nerds 2 would count. They were on the beach.
There you go.
But yeah, I always thought that this was the original teen genre, and this was kind of the one that this one. I don't know if it was actually the last one, but it was one of the last ones. So. But yeah,
Okay,
so that's
very
what
cool.
I threw on there. Yeah, so Attack of the B Movies. You find us on Facebook at the Attack of the B Movies podcast. You could find us on iTunes. You could find us on Spotify. You could find us on a few other wherever fine podcasts are played. Really, we're going to be shuffling around a bit, and we're going to be on Spreaker and stuff. And we're kind of, since I got a co-host, we're kind of done a rebirth of the show. So we're going to hook up with a buddy of mine that does some stuff, and you'll still be able to find us by searching for the name. It's just going to be a little different. Hopefully, some more exposure for everybody.
Nice.
But yeah, or you can find us at the website ptkycreative.com. We're there. You could listen to us there too. So yeah,
Very
I gotta
cool.
get better at plugging myself. I'm still horrible at that. Mainly because I've submitted to so many podcast providers. I don't remember all of them, and I don't remember which ones accepted us. So.
Oh man.
But yeah, so give us a listen, and Cameron, thanks for having us on again.
Anytime, and
Or having
thank
me
you
on
for
again, rather.
suggesting this
I
episode.
love these. I love coming out here with you, man.
Anytime, yeah. Also, we'll just be doing some other stuff, select stuff from a SpongeBob special to Cyberpunk, and yeah, anyone who's listening, we're just always going to be picking just various topics and best movies of certain genres, and you can definitely just find us just numerous places, just always just bringing something up. Just we like to talk about stuff that isn't typically talked about, for better or worse. Alrighty. Well,
all right, man.
Godspeed to you all. Okay.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up